I need to tell people to slow down, you can slow down. And then we can
I'll take some notes as you go, as we go through.
All right, we have no guests. 7:40. Jake and Aaron both let me know that they would not be able to come tonight, so I should be all present to be counted for.
Erin wasn't here last night.
No, she was also gone last time. Actually, I think they both were both missing last time too. I sent around the previous minutes. I did not print any copies. Sorry.
I have a copy of the these minutes.
Does anybody, I sent out sort of two versions. Yeah, so the second one I put this one. And I saw a note on yours that you asked about it, you wanted it.
Riley Reed's meeting on November 20th, which is correct in the action items.
Oh, right, okay.
And under outreach, there's just a typo, a meeting is needed.
Oh, okay.
Discuss carpet cleaning and Lulu. We will discuss carpet cleaning schedule for Saturday or Friday.
Okay. What are the dates mentioned?
On the carpet cleaning?
Yeah.
It was the day before the basket raffle.
Is it?
Okay.
So we were here Thursday the 7th, Saturday the 9th.
Yes.
All right.
I second.
Amended. I met with the substitute, they just said it has her.
Terry was here Saturday.
Terry, yeah, that was right.
Yeah. Terry also works in the school system.
Oh, okay, I'm trying to keep up with that, all right. Were there any other changes?
Actually, I reviewed low bid paint off from Debbie again. After discussion, Joshua Tuck, motion to cancel the painting bid in view of the fact that it was too late in the season to adopt existing option. This from the, just after discussion, I don't.
Okay.
Didn't come out of the blue.
Yeah.
Decided to the next
Don't give us at all.
Okay, all right. Just to say, it's motion to accept these minutes as amended. All those in favor? All right. Treasurer's report.
So we need a copy. So
Do you need
Bill,
one, John?
No, I just want to make sure we go with the director's report first.
building items, we're starting to think about winterizing. So Richard checked the snow thrower, make sure it's functioning, went up on the roof, cleared the drains.
No, they definitely clear.
He says they're clear. mentioned, we've hired 2 substitute pages, Teresa Reel, Rosemary Terry, and Lisa Rules. They're both getting their training done, and they will be, the substitute pages participate in the Saturday rotation. They get every 5th or 6th Saturday, something like that. So they still keep their skills of training up, even though they don't have a regular weekly shift. And then they're just on the call list for when there's conflicts. Circulation is still creeping up as our patron visits slightly up. One thing to keep in mind too with the circulation stats is that we have added that new Freegal service. So, and there's the way that we report things to the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners is kind of dictated to them what they report to the Institute of Museum and Library Services at the federal level. So, like when we say to them, hey, it's a song that was downloaded, it should be considered a circulation, their hands are really tied. They can't say, oh, this new thing is, automatically. So there's different, and this comes into play for a couple of different things. One is, does the expenditure count towards our materials expenditure requirement? Is it, for example, Novelist Select is a catalog enhancement. It is not considered part of our materials expenditure.
Okay.
So there's just a lot of new things that is all very questionable. They have a big Excel spreadsheet for every kind of subscription database, all of these new electronic resources on what counts toward the materials expenditure and what counts towards circulations. An ebook, that's a pretty straightforward thing. The person checks it out, they read it, they return it. That's a circulation. The Freegal song downloads, they're never returned, so they don't strictly circulate.
So one way ticket.
Right.
So they're not materials budget, they're not circulation.
They are part of the materials budget, I believe. I'll have to check on
Okay.
that. It was the Novelist Select that I had to go into our budget and move out of materials.
Okay.
But the Freegal is materials, Mango languages when we get it will be materials, but usage of that will not be circulation because that's like usage, like a database usage. You consult something.
Okay.
What do museum passes and tickets to events?
Museum passes are both materials and circulations.
Is circulation somewhat defined by actually go to the desk and get it? Well, your e-books you don't, you're right.
E-books you don't.
Everything by circulation just has to go and come back.
Right, and I don't know, do any museum passes? Yeah, they get returned, right? Some of them are just a tear out,
yeah.
and that's it. You
Most
take it.
of them now are just a tear out.
Okay.
Anyway,
It seems to fit better still.
MVLC had its membership meeting, the Merrimack Library Consortium had its membership meeting today, and they've written a letter to the Board of Library Commissioners that said, you need to re-examine these standards because, the other thing is holding libraries to a 16% or 19% materials expenditure is just becoming a little archaic. It's not the way the world is. Like having a building full of stuff is not the dynamic library of today, and so there was just debate amongst this with the directors about, whether that materials expenditure is really realistic.
How do we, sorry, that brings up a question. How do we contribute to e-books? We don't buy them ourselves, right? They belong to the consortium.
And that's another thing that involved in the consortium right now. They're reviewing the overdrive policy. We all pay into a pool.
So there is an expenditure.
There
is.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, when we get to the budget, I was going to mention, because I made a line for electronic resources, somewhere between 6 and 7% of our membership assessment in MBLC also goes towards materials. And that's the EBSCO databases, the overdrive, both, the sort of fee and content. There's like a platform fee and then there's content.
Can we break that out as materials?
It is, it's broken out.
Okay.
It's not in the monthly budget that you look at, but in my yearly reported, it will be broken out.
Okay.
And converse to that, when I turn in my annual figures to the state, I will be taking out the Freegal downloads, which I'm now counting as circulations.
Okay. Cool.
just as reference, is the 16% too high or too low?
It's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Nationwide is much lower.
Much lower, okay.
And it's based on population, so I think ours was 19%, but then because we upped our hours, we dropped it down to 16%. And then I think we'd have to get up into like the 25,000 population before it goes down to 13%.
And who regulates that again?
It's the Board of Library Commissioners, it's just their policy, their language,
Federally
state.
based or state based?
State.
That we spend the budget on 13% on materials.
Mhm.
Right, we're at 16 right now.
But if we could include things like free out, things like that, that would certainly bring us up.
Mhm.
So,
And the other thing about the materials expenditure is it doesn't have to come out of your operating budget. So everything Friends buys, the museum passes counts. We have an LSTA grant this year, that will all count. Anything we spend out of our donations, like when we bought the Kindles, that counts.
Pam, do you know if any other consortiums are making the same request? Like Noble or?
I don't know. But I think it started with a free will discussion and sort of grew from there of like, wait a minute, these policies are ridiculous. Someone needs to sort of re-examine them in light of the world we're living in now.
What can we do to facilitate that conversation? Or is there anything we can do to facilitate that conversation?
I mean, the Board of Library Commissioners are appointed. It's not like, you can call Bruce Tarr and say, hey, call Board of Library Commissioners.
You said it's at early stages of the conversation, right? But if it were to become a conversation, would emails in support of change or anything like that?
Yeah. I can see if the MLA's in the conversation at all. It might have been just a bunch of directors venting and we said, hey, let's write a letter.
If it becomes a conversation, then they will go to all the consortiums across the state and I'm sure get
Yeah.
all of their opinions.
And the other thing is, and I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but I looked at this spreadsheet because I suggested that we purchase iPads. Now, in their spreadsheet, iPads are strictly technology, but they've now become more like e-readers. So she said, I need to update that part of the spreadsheet because we no longer consider iPads strictly, capital replacement of a workstation. Now we do consider them.
Possible practically.
Yeah, because people are circulating them.
Right, your appreciation schedule.
So anyway, that's what she said was, if you're going to circulate them, they count as your materials. If it's just for your staff, they don't. And that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Although, there are things that we buy that the staff only use, like our library journal and our professional resources, but I'm not going to start splitting hairs there.
Yeah, that could get murky.
So anyway, so just keep in mind that the circulation figures, we do have these new services this year. And lots of programming going on. We had author Holly Robinson. Sadly, we had, this is not the most optimal of nights for her. She would have had more than the 9 people. Last time she was here, she had, I think, 30 or 35. Alex Liezos got, again, not sad showing. I think it was an interesting discussion too. A lot of people really remember Nick and shared their memories with him.
I'm sorry that I couldn't make that. That was interesting. Did they record it?
I don't think so, no. We have more computer classes coming up in December, and they've asked for intermediate this time. The sense is that most of our Raleigh seniors have completed the basic course and are ready to move on to intermediate. So,
Who teaches that?
Carol Susi has been doing it for about 7 or 8 years now. She's very, very highly regarded. The evaluations are all hugely positive. She's very patient. She doesn't talk down or make her feel slow. They're really, really well done.
And then you say, oh, volunteer?
The friends pay her.
The friends, oh.
And she charges us, she works in software, so she charges us half what she would charge.
It's very fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering. Great.
In preparation for the intermediate class, we needed to install Office 2010 on 6 reference computers because it would be very, very challenging to be teaching a class when half your students are on 2002 and half are on 2010, and they might not even sit in the same seat next time. So that was essential. And that's down in the next item. Friends Basket Raffle, I'm sure you noticed, the library's looking very festive with all the lovely donated baskets. Is it 18 now or 17 you would count?
Are you still
that
taking
one?
them? Or are you done? Still?
Yes, we'll take them.
Okay.
Or the friends will take them, I should say.
So definitely tell your friends, like it on Facebook, spread it around. We're also doing a class on meditation and mindfulness. I don't know what this really means, but we had like 10 people sign up and only 4 people show up. So the intentions of that, I'm going to get to my mindfulness class. But that is free. Jay Carlins has done a couple of one-off talks here on meditation in the past, and this was the first time that we tried to do sort of an ongoing class. So.
When he's been here in the past, has it been during the holidays or just after the holidays?
One of them was holiday-based, stay sane during the holidays.
Yeah.
The previous one, I think, was just in the summer.
I want to say one of them was right near the book sale, because I remember a lot of people recommending it to me.
Can't imagine why.
And then we also had a local guitarist offered to perform a free concert, which came together really kind of quickly. He just got in touch with us and we scheduled it. And 26 people came, so that was very nice. And I heard that some of them went and bought his album afterwards. And then they've been making those loom bracelets in the children's room, which I guess is like the trendy new craft that the kids make. So that, in fact, they started with 3 classes and ended up adding 2 more. They were so popular.
Wow.
It's crazy.
What is
They're
something
here.
like that?
There's a lot of people for those.
I don't know. Well,
It's grade school.
yeah.
Great school.
Yeah.
They're letting 6-year-olds in, but the 6-year-olds need help. It's kind of a complicated process.
It might be a little bit old for it, but I bet they would like it.
It's like,
There's one of our patrons donated anonymously a basket of all loom stuff, and I don't even think that there's been a class since the basket raffle's been up, but just to show how popular they are, it's like getting twice as many tickets as any other basket out there. It's crazy.
So that was just a mom who said, hey, I'll come and teach these classes for you, and her name got the supplies and did the advertising, so that's been very successful. It's also one of those things, it's funny when I look at the things I put on Facebook, it'll go back and say this was viewed 60 times or this was viewed 80 times and something like that 320 times because all the moms are sharing and so that all their friends get in together. So it's good to see that. Oh, and I was going to mention, I guess on the first page, our website hits are off, and off by a lot, both in-house and outside visits. But I'm wondering if people are relying on Facebook to find out about library events now. And we're also sending out the monthly newsletter again, so I don't know. I mean, that's something to keep an eye on. Another thought is that it seems like every time I go back to look at Google Analytics, they've changed their website again, and I have to figure out how it works. So it's possible that I'm missing something or that they've changed something and I'm not getting the accurate data. I don't know. And we moved the website, so I'm not even sure if I know how to get it for next month, but we'll figure that out.
are you going to post your next bullet point on Facebook? I think that's very cool.
Well, The next item is that the Raleigh Library Book Club is reading its 100th book this month. Carla brought that to my attention. She asked if we could possibly have all 100 books on display in the library. And Amy and I sort of talked about that, and we said, I mean, for one thing, the library's full of baskets right now. And it just logistically, we couldn't quite get our minds around where to do it, how to do it. The fact that we're not allowed to request items specifically to put them on display, so the ones we don't own, we wouldn't be able to have.
Pam, what if you did like a poster where you
Yeah.
had all the
Yeah.
covers?
So we talked about a Pinterest board, was one idea.
That's a great idea.
Amy said she'd be willing to put together a Pinterest board. We also talked about maybe they could come up with a top 10 out of their 100.
Just, do you generally have a Raleigh library Pinterest board?
Yes,
Really?
yeah,
Mhm.
Amy keeps it up.
We have
That's awesome.
It's where the new books bought are listed and such.
we have 17 followers on our events
You're about to have 18.
and 125 likes on Facebook. I checked those numbers because just to see if maybe people aren't going to the website because there's other avenues of finding what they want to know.
Yeah. I think a poster would be fun, because anyway, we could
A
make it
poster
big enough to
would
actually
be
see
fun.
the book covers.
Yeah.
you know.
Or like,
Maybe
like
we
the
could
read
several.
posters, people could maybe
Yeah.
pose with their favorite and write something on why they love
Yeah.
that one.
That could be
Um,
interesting. We can get them to pose.
We talked about getting Janet's help, like we talked with her friends,
Yeah.
to do reviews that we could put on YouTube. So these are some of the ideas that Amy and I came up with and threw back to Carla, and she's thinking about it, and she's going to get back to us.
And they have the list of all 100?
Well, we've pieced together,
Most of it.
between the three of us, we've pieced together a lot of it.
Yeah, I think just a list is fine, and then people want to look them up.
Put it up on Facebook and say, what have we missed?
But I like the idea of a
Seems like a waste of
poster,
resources.
like how big would it be,
Display on
how much
it.
wall, you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can walk around the wall, look at it.
And then you have to go, oh,
And of course, they're always right there.
Little Women, hold on.
Shelf, right there by
That's
the
one of
children's
the
room, so
posters.
keep them right there.
Fine, I mean, it's like, and
I just think it's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I also asked them what they wanted for their 100th meeting. Do they want a cake? Do they want refreshments? Do they want balloons?
They want to
That'd be helpful.
They want to be recorded.
Yeah.
So we'll hear back from that.
When is that?
And I'm going to have to throw it to Amy because I'm going on vacation next week, and the meeting is the week after that.
Oh, all right.
The first Thursday in
So it's
the month.
December. Is there not-
December 5th, yeah.
What's the book?
Gilead,
Oh, okay.
I want to say by Robinson, is it Marianne
I
Robinson?
just bought that. Oh, how weird. She wrote housekeeping?
Mhm.
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
bought that.
But yeah, I think Janet's right, that it's definitely cause to celebrate,
Sorry.
I'll see it. I know that Amy redid the flyer. I'll put it on Facebook again, even if it's already been on there.
Okay.
But hopefully we'll have some kind of idea what the celebration will be.
That's fine.
They could do 100 theme, like bringing 100 Cheerios. That's
Yeah,
what
like
the
the
school.
100th day.
Yeah,
It's at school, yeah.
Yeah.
Ages it was.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, wow,
If
that's
you
a lot
could
of
show
pages.
it on like one of these tall walls, how the books would stack up.
That would be fun.
That's a great. That's great.
Yeah, as a visual.
Were you about to say that?
No.
Is wishing you
Or show them the Cheerios. I could-
Okay, the next item is our staff appreciation luncheon. This will be the second year that we've done this on the first Saturday in December, which is close enough to the holidays that it feels festive, but early enough that people aren't quite too busy yet. Last year we did it in this room. We had tablecloths and music, and Rally House delivered,
Rally catering.
Rally Catering, sorry,
A lot of food.
too much food.
Very good.
So we'll learn from
Yes.
that, and that their portion sizes are ridiculous.
And the extra dishes that we had meant people didn't eat as much of, one time.
Right. So we had salad and spaghetti and breadsticks delivered, and then people brought appetizers and desserts. And when I say people, I mean us,
The
not,
trustees.
and I sort of said specifically, I don't want the staff are all gonna raise their hand and say, what can I bring? And I wanna tell them all, nothing. So I don't know if we still feel strongly about that this year, or if we wanna let them,
They asked
Bring
to
cookies.
contribute, didn't they?
Yeah.
they did, yeah.
So, I don't know what we do in that case, if they enjoy baking and they want to bring in.
That's the thing.
So,
Um, But we should kind of maybe coordinate who's doing what.
Yeah.
And that's a housekeeping issue, we can probably do that by email.
Last year, we did vote on a budget.
If we wanted to set a budget, we should do that at this meeting
If we do
tonight.
that tonight.
Yeah, and I think last year you also asked the friends,
Yeah.
I don't know if we have
did.
time to do that or not.
Well, last year we did half and half, or roughly half and half, and it was about 260, including all of Raleigh catering delivery, which was very reasonably priced, but we don't need nearly that much stuff.
Right.
How's the RSVPs going this year?
Well, we've got about 12 yeses so far, but there's probably another 12 that haven't replied. You will? Okay.
Works, I think, I'm gonna try to get to.
Okay,
it's a Saturday.
Saturday, yeah. So at 2 o'clock when the library closes, we'll do the luncheon. It was very nice last year, people really appreciated it.
And I think last year's budget included paper goods and tablecloths. Did we save those?
Well, the other thing is we didn't want to just use the whatever leftovers we have, which we often do.
Yeah.
We went out and bought like theme colors and, made the room nice and festive.
Didn't we use fabric tablecloths? No?
No. they were from
We did that
Walmart.
for something. Right. But yeah, I think festive colors should be awesome.
So when you say 2 o'clock, what time really do you need?
So we probably
seven.
started 7.
I think we
One or
started at 1-ish, and it didn't
1:30.
take much
Yeah.
at all.
It's tablecloths.
Because
and-
people are showing up, they're bringing their food, and then the delivery came right in the side door.
Okay.
So it was mostly like literally putting out tables
and
tables and
tablecloths.
chairs.
Did you put out, did we get plants? Did we get African violets or something?
We got some sort of
Some kind of
plant
flowers.
centerpiece.
Yeah.
What did I get them?
Poinsettias or,
Market basket?
Were they what? Nice memory. White poinsettias.
were they white ones?
I think so. Because I want to say it was blue and white. It was blue and white. So we probably need a budget.
Do you know what you spent last year?
It was 260 between the Friends and our donations. And I would bet we could do it for 2 easily.
I would
Well,
think
we
so.
could vote to spend up to that much, and then if the friends say not at all,
Right.
then we're covered.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they do say, we
And
can help.
and you could ask the friends to sponsor a specific thing too, and say, hey, can you get the paper goods if we get the food or something
Or
like that.
flowers or something,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
So I move to approve reimbursement up to $200 for the staff appreciation luncheon,
Why don't we do 260,
Yeah.
up to 260?
up to 260.
covers
You'll
us.
mentally
I don't think we'll need it.
budget 200 in your head.
Okay, I move to approve reimbursement up to $260 to fund a staff appreciation luncheon on December 7th at 2 o'clock.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. I'm sure the staff knows.
So that, they definitely do. So if, again, if you have a favorite dessert or appetizer that you'd like to contribute, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll just kind of send out a general,
Drama Tuesday.
sure.
Yeah.
All right.
So Pam, do you want to be the point person on it?
Sure.
Or I'm happy to do it if you want. I just don't know that I'll be able to physically set up the room. Because I have something that.
All right.
It might be better with Pam gone next
I plan
week.
to be here. The only other thing I have to do that day is go shopping down at Pine Grove, the fair. So I can be here early to set up.
I probably can be here, I need to check on some stuff.
Is everybody here who's planning on attending? Let Pam
I
know.
don't think I can do the whole.
I didn't let Pam know, but I can come for.
So how late does it go into?
And stay
Couple
for
hours.
lunch.
Did you bring?
Well, I gotta be careful because if I eat more than 50 pounds worth of food, is that enough?
We went through this all last year and
I'm
we were
just kidding.
fine. Remember we did have a ton of conversations
Let's
about
work
that
on
last
this
year,
law,
like what are we
that should
spending
be-
and do we divide it out amongst?
Yeah, we almost
Nine of
ended
us
up
what we-
sponsoring it ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
remember there was the whole question about gifts? And like when we get this dollar amount, do we divide it by the number of people who spent it or the number of people who received it? Or do you remember?
Yeah.
The whole $50
Yeah.
rule?
Yeah.
I think we're safe.
Yeah, it's fine.
You were safe last year, I'm sure it was together.
Yeah.
Do we need to discuss if we're gonna let the staff bring things or not? Oh,
I think we're gonna let them.
Is that what we
We're not gonna
say?
require them.
all right, just, if they
I
bring
mean,
something great.
one or
Just
two.
gonna stop them if they show up with a
Yeah.
tray of cookies,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm sorry, you
I think
said,
it's
say we don't
I mean,
need
I think-
anything,
yeah,
but.
don't
solicit, but if
Right, if they
somebody says
request it, I
not
think we can say, you know, similar to last year, this is something that the trustees would like to do, but if you really have something you'd love to share.
Yeah, or I can
Would love to
say,
do that.
we probably have, you know, I'm sure we'll have plenty, but if you really want to bring something, you can.
Yeah, I think that would be a
Yeah.
good way to go. Okay.
But they can't clear tables.
You know, and
That
that's
didn't
the
take very long
other
last
thing, is
year.
they were trying to set the
Oh, yeah,
tables
yeah.
up, and we were like, go ahead.
I'll do it. We ended up with like,
Just work.
I know.
Just
Hold them back.
Gosh.
All right, next item, we were talking about doing a series on devices after the holiday gift giving season. We have a couple of versions of Kindle here that we can play with and demonstrate with, and this would obviously be for people to bring their own devices. It would be a definitely BYOD kind of thing. But, you know, we kind of need an iPad here and maybe an Android. I don't, how different are Apple tablets and Android tablets? I don't even know. So do we need one of each?
Are these for demonstration purposes? What
Well, if we eventually decide to circulate them after our, you know, classroom time is over, then they're materials.
There isn't a need for a mini, a regular, and an air.
No, that was just the different prices.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, you know, but, because they all operate exactly the same.
Right. So one of those at whichever price point, and possibly the Google tablet as well.
Android tablet. That's what we meant by the Google tablet.
These are all Wi-Fi devices.
Yep.
I mean, I can, if you just need them for the procedure, I can loan them. So.
Well, I mean, we kind of need some
Yeah.
time to get ourselves up to speed on it if we're
Right.
going to be teaching it too.
Good thought.
I would say, and you've probably already done this, and I haven't noticed it, I would start talking about the fact that you're going to have this class
Mhm.
now, as people are starting to think about what they want to buy for their child or whatever for Christmas. But ask people, what devices do you want to see?
Well, it's interesting, in past years, they've asked us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, like
Should I
what's
get a
it
Kindle
now?
or a book? I just don't know.
Oh, that's true. It's very true. Well, now you can say, well, we have Kindles at our library.
And the reason, if everybody knows, the reason I have not mentioned Nooks at all is because Barnes and Nobles would not give me credit, so we don't have Nooks. So there you go.
Oh,
Aren't they
right.
going on?
I think
That's
it's
a
for
first, it's been going
sale.
around for 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
Nook, Barnes and Nook.
Nook equals Barnes and Noble.
Nook is
Amazon
Barnes and
And Kindle is far outselling.
Barnes and
The
Noble
Nook
is-
division is for sale, is what
Because
I heard.
Amazon has a distribution
sorry?
The
that's.
Nook division is for sale. is
There's
what I
there's
heard.
been talk about Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble is not going
Well,
there.
there's been discussion of it splitting the brick and mortar stores off from the online presence, and there's been all kinds of talk for a couple of years. but-
Yeah, Borders is
It's
the
in
option.
transition.
Yeah,
I
Borders,
know.
still got my gift card.
I never liked Borders. I don't know why. I never liked Borders. Anyway,
It's hard to get in and out of that 101-14.
yeah.
Um,
That might
Well,
be part
if
of
you were
it.
in the little club, you got free shipping, and every 4 days they send you 30% off, and you got 10 for being in the club, so you get like a book for $7 every 4 days to learn business.
With each grade.
Shift for free.
Free customers.
I love it. Sorry, back to the staff luncheon just for 1 second. Who's going to keep track of the food? Unless you really want to.
Nope, you can. Thank
She was
you.
going to argue that. Okay,
So
sorry.
if anyone is planning on bringing anything to this staff luncheon, please email
Michelle
me
now.
Okay.
so that I can plan
If you need
accordingly.
anything, let me know. I'm not a chef, but I like to buy good food. So.
Didn't Joe or somebody bring those little frozen hors d'oeuvre things that
That
were?
wasn't for that.
Wasn't
We
for
did
that?
for something else.
Okay.
Anna always does
Some Costco hors
Yeah.
d'oeuvre thing.
that I can never remember the name of, like spinach.
Stand and cough it up.
That's what I was thinking of, somebody was saying that. Okay, anyway, sorry. Didn't
All
mean to
right,
get stuck
so,
on
so if they're coming on for materials expenditure because we're gonna ultimately circulate them, then we don't really need to have this conversation, let's go get them.
that. Mhm.
But if we think that they're gonna really be more for staff use and or for training, then there's not really a place in the operating budget and we need to go into discretionary funds.
I would assume that they're going to be, we would do anything around 20.
Even just
I can't
in-house.
see
I would say let them out in-house and all
Yeah.
the staff has to be, or designated staff has to be up to speed on how to use all the
Mhm.
devices.
Mhm.
So Pam, going back to the Michael shares Kindles,
Yes.
that, so they would circulate
Mhm.
before these. So I'm just
Yes.
worried about the timing, like if we say we're gonna purchase these out of materials, is there a point at which, like, do we have to circulate them by a certain time to justify that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay, the act of circulating is separate from having an item that is in circulation or for
Right.
circulation. You could buy a book, if nobody ever checks out the book, it's still in circulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's in the
It's
system.
like,
It's in
there's
every
a
register.
backlog in which the things get processed in a timely fashion.
I see,
And every library has that backlog.
I see.
How's that, how's the?
I just want to make sure the staff learns how to use the Kindles first.
Right, so the first thing would probably be, Amy would take it home and play with it and maybe do a class on it. Yeah. Any of you who are using these, do you have an opinion whether, I don't think we need the fancy Air, but a mini or a regular, is there any?
Go with the regular, mini is mini.
Mini, okay.
And mini might be a little bit easier to disappear than a larger device.
You can go with the iPad too, it's the same. I mean,
Yeah.
the only difference is the Retina and the new iPad. Yeah, there's no, you'd save $100 per item pretty much. But they're identical, especially in operation. So, and the Apple's prizes itself on being very simple.
Mhm.
On the Android, it's much more,
Like more of an operating system than
yeah,
than
and they can
a
be,
gadget.
right, and they can
It's
be,
easier to be hacked.
Yeah.
I would actually recommend, as somebody who buys technology, I'd recommend for your environment Macs because the Android can be subject to spam and, viruses because it's operating on a Windows
Okay, interesting. All right.
platform.
So you suggest we don't get an Android tablet? No.
I would recommend that you go with just the Macs.
Okay.
That's
So
what we
isn't
do
the
in our
purpose to
time.
show people who do get the Androids how to use them?
That
right?
was kind of what I was
The Android-
thinking, is that we just sort of need to get ourselves up to speed, because people are bringing them in, they are.
That's true.
Android, you can get Android tablets very cheap. I mean, for Wi-Fi, only 16, I mean, you don't need to go with Google, their brand. You can go with, they sell them like $79, you can get one,
Okay,
which will run on the same operating system, so.
okay.
But yes, they can easily be broken, meaning change the operating system around and install
Well,
your own software. You
don't
can
I
do
have
that
like parental
to-
controls, I can lock it down and like that, no?
I mean,
So it's maybe not
Controls of-
I
a
mean,
good
just-
thing
It
to
might
have
be
in a
something
public
for you
environment.
to have, but maybe something that you have as a staff tool more than you have as something that you're handing out.
What's the staff going to use it for? I mean, what is the
To
purpose?
be,
I
to
mean,
train
besides the-
themselves and to be able to use
To be,
it.
to be able to help
support other
people and
people.
to invite people to come in and say, come to the library, learn how to use your new device, learn how to put library books on your new device.
I'll be at that class.
Sit down in the beanbag chair and you guys probably.
I was gonna say,
We have some feedback chairs in our back.
Okay, well, sit down in the beanbag chair, surf the web, read your books, whatever, that's fine. But,
All right, so in that
but if they
case,
take it home,
right. So your feeling is there's not enough security. Like the Kindles, I can totally lock them down so that you can do nothing but read content. Yeah, but it's harder to do that for these devices for circulation.
I think so. I mean,
I mean, it depends on how you do it, and I'm not a technology person. I know in our corporate environment, we use something called AirWatch, where you can manage something remotely, and if for any reason the device disappears, you can take the content and the rights back. So
And that's
it
probably,
essentially becomes a brick,
that's probably
something that you would want to do.
purchase.
Yes. I can't tell you how it works, but.
Yeah.
I mean, you can probably factory reset it every time it comes in, but.
Mhm. All right, so that kind of brings us back to, if we're buying them for the staff and for training for the public, it's more of a discretionary expenditure than it is just a materials expenditure. Is everybody still fine with that?
We're talking specifically there about the Android one, is the iPad we use. So I think if we can get one cheap, I'm not concerned,
Okay.
personally.
All right,
I think it's
sorry
so useful.
that conversation is so muddy.
So Pam, you decided you're gonna get all of the Android with material, out of the materials budget with the intention of circulating them, but the Android will do out of discretion?
I think that's the consensus. Okay, moving on to technology. The new server is in place. Most functions are running on it. They're still tweaking some policies. I don't know how, I can give you a kind of very brief, just sort of rundown on the policies and the sort of environment that we have in our network situation. A lot of libraries use something like Maggie's company does to, so for example, there's one called Deep Freeze, where every time you reboot your computer, it goes back to how it was at the start of the day yesterday. So anything anybody did throughout the day, just, it's gone the next day. But people pay for this, and it's kind of clunky, and it takes a lot of maintenance. We're lucky here that we have Rick, and when he set up the network in the first place, he set up all the security by policy. So policy dictates what patron users can and cannot do, specifically what they cannot do, which saves us all kinds of headaches on having them muck about with stuff that we have to put back. The downside of having it set up this way is every time there's a new operating system, the policies all have to be learned just a little bit more. So we went through it with Vista, we went through it with Windows 7, and now with our new server software, we had to go through it again. So it's good in that day-to-day, we don't have to do anything. But when we move on to new technology, we have to invest a little time in getting it set up properly. And when I say we have to invest a little time, it comes out of the town IT line. You know, when we just buy the hardware out of our budget, and Rick's time, and he spent a lot of it, comes out of that town line. So there is still some testing and tweaking still going on with that. And we did move the website. The Friends agreed to sponsor it, which is awesome. And David Masher, who was our volunteer webmaster for so many years, helped me to move it. Excellent, but it's all set now.
Should we send a thank you
I was
card
just
to
gonna say
David
that.
Asher for all those years?
Oh, yeah, and for helping with it. That would be Erin's job generally. You can ask Erin to. You'll do it.
Second, his actions.
And then finally, I was out of the building today, but I did hear from our Mango language rep. We're ready to go. We just need to do a little setup, and we'll be offering language learning software.
You guys are
That was my long
Well, it was
It's
just,
been
I
a
mean,
discussion for a while, yeah.
yeah, but
But
it
there
was
was a lot of
always just,
research,
it was
yeah.
always just a little bit outside of our scope and our budget and our, but actually the Mango language is very, very reasonable. It's $750 a year.
That's very
awesome.
reasonable.
What languages?
I think there's about 30 languages.
Wow.
And there's
Yes.
movies too. There's foreign films.
Ooh. That's an interesting, that you circulate?
That
Or that
people
you-
stream, I think.
That's an
It's
interesting-
new, I don't really know.
To practice your language listening skills.
Mhm.
It works.
So we received our certification from the Board of Library Commissioners, and we received our first payment of
That's a good vote about that.
$2,593.28. The other communication I got from the Board of Library Commissioners was that our long-range plan is complete and acceptable.
So are we still finding, what are we doing with that lately?
Josh, did you say you were going to talk to graphic designers that you knew? Or, I think that's what we were waiting on, and having the long-range plan bound.
I did talk to them. Yes, thank you, refresh my memory here. I did speak to two different local publishers. For some, depending on what you were looking for and how many pages, we were just looking for something that was paper bound. They would send out for that type of thing.
Okay.
More of a firm binder. They can do it, but both places that I spoke to said that they would send out. They would usually do it in-house. You list over 10 tabs.
Right.
So-
Yeah, because it's only like 10 pages.
And they said it's cheaper to go through, there are a lot of photo book binding places that you can upload your work to, and they'll just bind it with it.
Okay.
Like Snapfish or something.
I think they use
Oh, okay.
something like that.
Yeah, Google.
But that's like a hardcover book. That's not really what we want.
Actually, you could do them with, I've seen some with, what is it, moleskin or something like that, which is, the thinner material too,
Okay,
but
so
in both,
It's 25 pages long.
25 pages. And that's actually 12 pages.
13.
Right.
Maybe a few more if you want the cover page to have the back and, something like that. I am going to want to paginate it, but
they said
it's not very big.
for a small project like that, they said it's much less expensive to go through an online service.
Okay, so a little research still to be done on that.
If we just went to a copy center, couldn't they bind it with certain types of binding? Yeah, like with tape binding or something like that?
I mean, we have a binder if you want the plastic little toothy thingy. That's what we did the last time.
I think Staples does do that. There's a
Yeah.
Staples in Danvers, right where Home Goods is. I think they
Yeah.
have full
Oh,
full center.
Yeah, they'll do like ones, like, it's like the spine of a book, so the tip that goes over it, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's cheaper. Sorry.
We can investigate what they're on.
Okay.
I can stop in tomorrow too and get brochures.
I can check with Minuteman too. If that's what we use. And we've also received LSTA funds. The planning committee for Raleigh Reads is meeting tomorrow at 7.
And is part of that even going to be around reporting, or is that something we'll just do offline? Like all the reports that we need to send back and statistics that we need to send?
No, we don't need to worry about that yet.
Okay.
All we're doing tomorrow is planning.
Okay, just because I
Planning.
know that that report is daunting, so I don't want to let it get ahead of us, but I think.
I'm not worried about the report.
All right, if you're not worried about
It's not due till April 15th.
Pencil it in for April 12th.
But what Michelle is alluding to is anytime you have a federal grant, there is a very onerous method of reporting. It's everything is audited, everything, all your finances, there's just a little more record keeping that you have to be on top of than normally going about our business. In fact, I don't have it here, but our grant announcement was in the paper, and I made a copy to turn in with our report. But we got a nice write-up in the Daily News, not yesterday, but last Monday's Raleigh Town notebook. And then the reason our policy committee had their meeting beforehand was because we had another incident of unacceptable patron behavior, and luckily I was here, but if I wasn't here, the rest of our senior staff needs to know how to handle situations like that. So I don't know, do you want to talk about how you reviewed our fleet?
Well, I was going to say, it's in the subcommittee meetings, so we can come back to that.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on Pam's report? Or any questions, I guess I should say?
Did they throw their own keys, or did they throw keys that we had loaned them?
Their own keys.
Okay.
I hope I didn't get that. Do you guys have a panic button?
Yes.
Installed with the desk?
That took a long time, too.
I have to profile, what did this person look like that's going around throwing stuff at people in public
What
places?
could possibly have happened in the confines of the library to warrant that?
The person was angry because they were not done with their computer search and the computer was turned off. Because the signs were posted that say computers get turned off at 15 minutes before closing. And they weren't physically in the chair. They were still in the building, but not physically in the chair. And the page didn't know. The keys were on the desk, but you still don't know. People leave all kinds of crazy stuff on the desk. So the computer got turned off and the person got probably disproportionately angry. And used a curse word directed towards the staff member, which is not acceptable. It's not good customer service to be abused. And I don't know if any of you had a chance to look at that webinar I sent around, but this guy, Warren Graham, who wrote
I was wondering why you were reading.
The Black
That's
Velvet
Pam's
Wearing.
returning it to Pam.
No, actually, I read it over the weekend. It was a pretty quick read. And it just talks about being in control of your environment. If one person is causing a disruption, then nobody can enjoy the resources of the library, and so you have to not be conflict averse, and you have to correct rule infractions as they happen, and that, keeps everything running smoothly.
You're done with that book? Are you done with that, Pam?
I'm done. Well, I want to give it to her and Amy, but
Oh. Can I flip through it?
yeah,
You said you read it in the weekend.
No, Pam said she read it.
Oh,
I can read it.
75
No.
pages.
It doesn't look like a difficult read. No, I did not have time to read it.
That's
When
what
did I get it?
Piece.
Monday. I got it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read it. Okay, so sorry, director's report. Any questions? Does anyone want a motion, please?
Motion to approve?
Somebody.
Some.
All those in favor? Okay, excellent. Budget.
So I mentioned I did add the line item for electronic resources within our materials budget. And again, 6 to 7% of the $17,280 that we paid into FBLC also goes towards electronic materials. I did actually, at the membership meeting today, fiscal 15 budget for FBLC was approved. Our assessment is going up again. Not a lot, it's 18 and change, I think. I'll have to look, but it is going up again. And that's based on usage. So the more materials we add to the consortium, the more circulations we have in the consortium. And there's one other factor that goes in the equation. I think it's items. Items that we add, how much we spend on materials, and how much we circulate.
Sorry, I'm just thinking how that it's going to turn into a snowball with the state requiring that we spend so much, which then ups the LC and
Right,
so, yeah.
right.
So where does the assessment live in the budget?
Network,
Network membership?
it's beneath energy and utilities. There you go. I always lose it because it's just a single line.
It's a single line,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't recall how much ours is going up, but a little bit.
That's a good point, Janet, so whatever they charge us, then we need to do 16%.
It's a vicious cycle. Although if we're going back to, the state's looking at how they look at the 16%,
Right.
Because when you spend the additional 60%, you have more revenues.
Right.
I'm catching up.
so.
And how is the network membership different from an electronic
Right.
resource?
The network membership is our basic functioning. It's more than a catalog, it's called an ILS, Integrated Library System. So it's all of our catalog, our circulation, our patron database, I mean,
It's the
everything, all of our
membership.
critical
It's
functions.
not the resources.
Right, right.
Is there anything else in the budget you want to point out?
Well, the other thing I'll point out is that I did the computer hardware, the $299.64, that was the purchase of the office licenses, which could also have come out of discretionary because it is kind of a one-time thing, but on the other hand, keeping your operating systems up to the current software is kind of operating.
And
And
buy those under the municipal contract for the town?
actually, Microsoft considers a public library educational, which is even better.
Great.
Yeah, yeah, we get academic pricing.
Compared to what I'm paying.
Yeah.
Not overall.
In fact, our new vendor, GovConnection, set up a conference call with the Microsoft rep to just go over, like, they have a new subscription model now, and it was great to actually talk to a person at Microsoft, because it's dizzying trying to deal with them.
You need a PhD.
Yeah,
It's nice to be intermediary.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really liking this new vendor, GovConnection, and our sales rep, Paul, is great.
So it came out from where? From,
Computer hardware, it's
Oh,
really
yeah.
hardware and software.
yeah.
I use that line for our antivirus, our domain, and, a printer that goes, or a monitor that goes, or something like that, that we can just sort of replace. So that was kind of a judgment call to say whether those licenses were. And this is another fuzzy thing, we can get into that when we start talking about capital. I don't think replacing 4 computers a year should be capital, I think that should be operating. But getting it put in the operating and getting the heads to agree that it's operating and not capital isn't as easy as it sounds.
So Pam, for the minutes, tell me again which line.
Computer hardware is, those are the office licenses.
Is there any questions for Pam? Anybody?
And the other thing I'll mention on is that our quarterly interest, our first quarterly interest payments have come in, so you'll see interest in those for the discretionary funds. The Clarice Emerson, we get both monthly and quarterly interest, but the others are just the quarterly.
Anything else on the budget?
I move to accept the budget.
A second.
All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Continuing up to 75th for the rally reads, or is that more or less after tomorrow night?
Come tomorrow, or if you have great ideas. I think I did, I'm not sure, did I start to say, tomorrow's meeting is really just for planning.
Yes, you did say that. To
Okay.
brainstorm events.
Just to get us started on events, programs, a schedule. That's really where we are now, is just starting to plan the events.
Pam, who's coming to that meeting from staff?
I think just Amy. Everyone's been invited,
Okay.
and myself.
Good.
All right. Old business, anything new on the website?
I don't have any updates on the website. I was telling the outreach committee, our website designers were kind of pokey as far as getting stuff into us. And that was fine with me at the time because I was so busy, I didn't have time to keep up with reviewing their submissions. But now some other things on my end have ended, and I'm kind of ready to get this going, and they're still pokey.
Payment schedule, we can tie to some else.
I'm going to go look back at the contract and see if we did put any timelines in there. I think it was just, a third at the beginning and the rest upon completion. But, yeah, I'm ready for a new website.
Yeah, for looking at all the elements, it's exciting.
And then the only question that's still sort of pending right now, we looked at some examples of the landing page. Josh gave me some great summary of sort of discussion we had that night when we were looking at them, which I sent to Pixel and Light. So two kind of burning questions are, on that landing page, do we want a calendar of events, or is that not necessary? And the other thing we don't know if we want on that page or not is the little buttons to go to Freegal and Mango languages and Gale databases and Overdrive. I mean, I'm sure you know what I mean when there's a list of these outside services.
So, yeah, we've discussed this, my preference is not to have those on our homepage, or it looks like when they're one of those pages and they're all ads.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to go with the theme of the page, they could be their own thing, they could be flashing, they could be whatever the new downloaded content from them is. So it's,
That's under a resources tab.
That's what I was going to say.
And
We have a drop down.
right now, it's there's what we call a portal page, which just has basically, and they're really just text links right now. We haven't gotten into the graphic buttons other than the Freegal ad, which I put on the homepage.
And then I wonder if we added something new, like let's say we were live with our new website and we added Mango. If we had them just under the resources without tabs on the bottom, if we were introducing something, would we have the ability to put like a Mango button?
Well,
there?
that was one of our concerns with the three designs we looked at, is did we have enough spaces to be highlighting things? Do we have enough spaces on there to say, there's a program in the children's room, there's a program in the adult room, the friends are doing this, we typically have 4, 5, 6 current announcements.
Weren't we doing that with wasn't there the square that
Slideshow.
should rotate?
Yeah, so possibly
Would your upcoming events go in there?
I don't really know what goes into making those slideshows, and if that's going to be a burden on us to make the slides. I'm hoping not, because that would be the
That's
solution,
okay.
is if it's a slideshow, yeah.
Well, and introducing a new service or item like Mango is a little different than saying, hey, Big Ryan's going to be here next Wednesday.
Right, and
So we could like big announcements that there's a change at the library and then events. I really see those as different.
or you just have your own little tab, your own little box that scrolls through, so that would be. Now, does the library have a digital camera that you could take pictures of activities, events?
I use this.
Okay.
It's easiest, emails. The library does have a digital camera. I'm not good at uploading from it, but Hermione uses it a lot.
And iTouch would be a worthwhile investment. As long as it's on iPad.
The what?
An iTouch? Not like the younger kids have the iTouch, but you can take pictures of it.
I think that's what this is.
Oh, okay. I thought that was an iPhone.
No. This is everything but the phone. So yeah, an iPod Touch. And it's very handy. So, and I think I think I suggested to Kim that in the next round, she do one with buttons and one without buttons. Just to see.
Buttons as in,
Mango and Freegal and Overdrive.
just, I just think our when you go to our site, it should be definitely on our site, it shouldn't be cluttered with other people's colors and.
The problem is the word that gets people to the portal page. Like resources, databases, services, like what conveys to a non-library person what's on this tab, what's on this.
That center box, though, is where you would have whatever you decided to put there change over. Just like when you go to MSN, you know how it has the latest scandal with the same type of thing, but you would be able to go, oh, check out Mango. You'd be able to put like a little logo there or something like that, and then go to the next thing, or children's room, children's book offer
That page is
visiting.
more of like a news page, not
Right.
like events page.
Right.
A news page.
And the question too, and maybe we look at Google Analytics for this, but what are people looking for? Are they looking for news? Are they looking for these other services?
One thing I'd be nervous about by putting them under a tab that says resources or whatever is if someone doesn't know we have it, they wouldn't go look for it.
Right.
Like, if someone just first went onto our site, they don't know to look for Freegal. Whereas if we have stuff on the bottom, and I agree with you, Josh, that you don't want to make it look like there's all these pop-ups, but to have these things sort of advertising what we have, they are advertisements, they're advertisements of what
Right.
I think we need to see what we get back from them.
Yeah.
too,
And I
but-
think too, we're paying good money to get these resources for our patrons. We can't hide them and bury them. They need to be like, hey, use me.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd hate to see them be, right in your face, but to see some options about how other
On the
people kind of put
bottom
them on
or-
the sides,
yeah.
Because they won't know what they don't know.
Right. So that's kind of where the current debate is at right now.
The problem with putting things like that up on the main page is that when you stop, my link's no longer there, am I going to look for it somewhere else, or do you just keep them there and keep piling on and on
Right,
and
right,
on and on until you've got, you're scrolling through 3 pages of different products that they offer? I mean, that's...
And there are definitely library sites that have it's
Right.
long scroll, yeah.
I think we should also be keeping in mind the mouse overs. So like if you mouse over resources, you'll see all those names, you'll see Freegal and.
You add a line.
Yeah.
But again, I think it would be nice to see, literally to see what
Yeah.
it will look like with or without them.
Yeah. So I can let Kim know that we're waiting on the next round.
Anything on the meeting, any updates on
So
that?
nothing.
Did you ever hear from Eric?
Mhm.
I owe him $90,000. It's not doing it.
Somebody else was going to refer you, John?
Yeah, I sent an email and I didn't hear back, so I'll send it again. That reminded me.
Sorry, I'm supposed to be keeping track of action. All right. New business, we've pretty much covered the staff appreciation luncheon, I think. There's nothing more.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so capital needs.
What? Oh, just,
No.
I was just reaching for the memo from Debbie Egan, town administrator, that the Board of Selectmen has started the process of compiling a list of townwide capital needs and requests for the next 5 years. Selectmen Bob Murray and Dave Peterson have been designated by the board to work on this project. We want to start this process now so that we will have ample time to review each department's requests before the next budget season begins. Attached is a department capital needs form. Please complete and return to me by Monday, December 2nd, 2013. And the form just says, department head, please prioritize the capital needs for your department over the next 5 years. Capital needs are defined as items that are $500 or more in value. Include estimated costs if possible for each request. So there's equipment, facility, and vehicles.
By next 5 years, we're talking about not FY14.
Next 5 years.
Next 5. Okay, so we're not talking about
15 through 20.
15 through 20, okay, yes.
So that would be like an amount.
And capital needs are
Category?
vehicles.
That's really low.
Design facility.
If you put it out that far in advance, then you should consider, I mean, obviously, probably computers, things like that, these are all.
Yeah, I mean, I say computers 4 a year, 6 a year. We've got 24.
How old is our hallmark? Like that.
It was just replaced. And that was only $300.
Gutters, HVAC. Just facilities upgrades, like bathroom.
I mean, painting, obviously.
The painting's more
The painting's-
overhead, it's not a capital.
We're putting that in there.
Yeah, putting that
Okay.
in. Yeah.
But you also talked about more AV in this room, but you want to do that before 15.
When does 15 start? In
July
of 14.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, so when will this go to town meeting?
It'll be on town meeting in the spring,
Okay.
but they're starting it now so that they're not too busy during the regular budget season. You will probably going to want a new copier between now and then.
Is that owned or leased? That's what you own.
Do we want to color
We want a color, we want a networked one, we want a fancy one.
Smart now. Just getting smart.
I know.
You don't need to network it, just smart TV.
What, your copier?
Oh, sorry, were we talking about the copier? I thought we were still talking about the AV, sorry. Sorry. Okay, copier.
If you get them after you could get a wireless network copy.
So Pam, should we look at the wish list and start checking it as well? We've done a good job on the wish list lately.
I don't have it with me.
What about the phone system? We've talked about the
We
phone
talked about the
system.
phone system,
And
yeah.
what we need to submit this.
We need to submit the list by December 2nd.
December 2nd.
So we don't have another meeting to get there. But I know the phone system is on the wish list. I
Mhm.
don't remember what else was on there too. I don't think I have it.
The lights, the bollard lights on the wall, they don't work.
Yeah, that's on there.
Flat screens would be capital.
Oh, wait, I have it.
I mean, I think that it's, the HVAC is a good thing because we mentioned that there was a question about one of the compressors the last time they were up there doing maintenance.
So on the wish list,
I think under current list of vehicles, I think our snow thrower is considered part of the fleet.
do we have any other?
So, no, but we might need another snow thrower in the next 5 years. I don't know how long those last.
That one's welded together too, isn't that the same one that had some piece break that Richard had to bring somewhere to get fixed?
It did break, yeah. It broke a couple times.
Shelving for the children's room with display options was on here.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the June, isn't that the request? Is it the same shelf?
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
They also want some kind of solution in storage, in the story time room to hide all the storage that's in there. So like a screen or movable bulletin board or something like that. Is that on there?
I don't recall that.
Is there room to build another shelf?
Probably
Like when you walk
on the
in?
back wall.
Yeah, so like behind where Anna sits, could you put a cabinet or something?
Some kind of solution, yeah. Yeah, for
Yes,
that
there is
stuff.
screen for storage time,
Screen.
to hide storage items, yeah. I think the new phone system would probably be key. You have on here the large screen, but we're hoping to get this done prior to FY '15.
If you're talking capital between 2015 and 2020, you might want to put some money or request some money for electrical updates. Not so much that there's something that's going to go wrong, but technology's going to change and the technical needs are going to change.
I was also wondering if there's any rooms yet that need painting.
This room.
This room has needed painting for a while. Does that count?
No, that would be
Not
for
really.
facilities overhead,
Okay,
because it doesn't have value in and of itself.
right, right. So there's a few items anyway.
Projectors for the smaller conference rooms. As we go more to a more paperless environment.
Or just the smart TVs.
Just the smart TVs
The
with the
smaller
cable,
smart
yeah.
TVs, yeah.
Pam, are they looking for us to send them our list for the next 5 years, or just what we want this year?
5 years.
Projecting.
Include estimated costs if possible for each request.
But we don't have to ask for everything in the world there, but, you know, from those items, we certainly need to.
Rugs, carpeting, I don't know how long.
It's pulling in the children's room. I talked to the cleaner guy, he said to snip them when they pull, because otherwise your vacuum will catch it and they can pull more. But there's 4 or 5 instances where it needs to be snipped.
Maybe move back before, sooner rather than later.
That sounds kind of key. I don't know if I would necessarily include the screen for storage as a capital request.
If it was cabinet.
If it's a
I
big
would,
cabinet,
yeah, I
yeah.
think if it's a contest to put it in a cabinet, I wonder if they even like thought that they probably, they maybe assumed they couldn't get that due to money or something.
I think you need more than a screen because the
Yeah.
kids get into it.
Is
I
it
wonder if
just
they gave them
aesthetics
the
or
option
is it-
if they'd rather have a cabinet.
I don't think a freestanding cabinet is going to provide enough space. But I mean, if you build a wall and a door, that would work.
That's what I'm talking about, like what
Yeah,
they
closet
have on
walls.
on
Yeah.
either side of the sink, put against, even if it's just like one more 2-door thing built right in.
Or in the back of the room, you might want to be able to put in a closet like that.
That's more what I'm thinking.
It's, there's kind of a
wall,
wall there,
yeah.
I think this gives a lot more flexibility for what you
but
need.
the only thing you'd have to wonder about is the window. I don't have a window.
There is a window.
But there's other windows in the room so that we can access
Yeah.
issue.
No, I wasn't thinking that. I was just thinking.
You might have a
building
closet
inside
You
window.
might
Yeah.
be blocking off a window, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's 2 or 3 in there.
I can't picture it.
I think there's
There are
3.
but- Okay, so do we need to narrow that down, or do you want to narrow that down, or organize it?
And if we don't ask for something, can we ask for it in 3 years?
Do you know, did you phrase that as this is the, this is it, this is your chance to ask for the next 5 years?
I
I
can't
can't imagine.
I don't
that
think
If you
so.
know that there's stuff that's coming out.
They're just trying to plan ahead, I
Yeah.
think, which is great.
Yeah.
So we have to put everything.
So, of those things, what's your top priority? On the spot.
Well, so the painting for sure and the computers for sure. I mean, I think that copier, I'm pretty sure we bought it used, and that was 9 years ago. And again, it doesn't do all the things that you expect your copier to do nowadays.
Probably also uses really expensive toner and quite a bit of electricity.
Yeah, and every other town department has like the, scan to, da-da-da.
Yeah, so it doesn't have
We
a
actually,
scanner with it.
so we'd actually talked about a scanner for public use as well, so. if it-
Scanner copy your fax machine. Can I make a really strange suggestion or idea? If they do go ahead and buy that land, the Girl Scout property, to put a little library outpost there? Have you seen the little libraries online? Do a little library stocked with like nature guides and stuff?
That'd be fun.
What is that exactly? Is that a little building or?
It's like a mailbox
Oh, man.
full of books. That's kind of trendy right now.
Yeah, sounds good.
Roof, windows, masonry should be fine. Building repairs, let's hope not. Building expansion, not quite yet.
Gutters? Would you consider that part of the roof?
If we can do this every year, then that's fine. I was thinking this would be, you have to do it, whatever you're gonna be doing in the next 5 years, that's like capacity cover, but it doesn't, so.
No, well, but that's what they asked for, is 5 years. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't think, like, we don't ask for it today, forget it, we have to wait another 5 years. But I think they want a reasonable,
List.
yes.
I think the bollard lights are a good request as well, the lights up front, and that one, so we light out back, that
Yeah, I just,
just refuses to work. I
the,
don't know what's up, the very first
the
light.
one on the building, I know, and the far one in the corner probably just needs a new bulb, but I just haven't called Scott Hurdle to have him come look at it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now it's
the one in
old.
the back, but,
I mean, that's not even a cap, that's not even a cap.
Yeah, that's just like a dog.
no, I'm just thinking these up here,
Yeah.
but that one came to mind when I said that.
Does the town take care of the parking lot? Because it's actually part of their parking lot as well. I mean, we.
What do you mean, take care of it?
I mean,
Repave it?
if it needed to be repaved, or if the,
We had to repaint it the last
We
time.
paint the stripes.
if that's not, that's
Yeah,
probably not
they're
one
painted
$500. What?
Did you paint them?
I can't get stressed anymore. Is there any like green requests we can make, you know, like,
Like move all our lights to LED.
yeah, or solar panels, just, you know, or an oil burner that uses corn or something, I don't know, just like in 5 years, I mean, should we be moving more towards things that are, one, gonna save us money, but then also kind of what, you know,
How much
our
of that
mission
is-
statement kind of is, or at least the purpose of the library at the beginning, you know.
Just a look at it.
I wonder if there are restrictions on
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the first blows the land is like, you know, so what can you do? You know,
Don't
to
I
make
think
it-
so.
Thrown in the windmill.
Yeah.
No, it's
Especially
not.
since now there's so much information.
Oh, look at where,
Pam, you haven't mentioned the phones as one of your priorities, is it?
But I don't think I think it's going to die on us soon. I don't think it's a very good system, and I don't think it is, you know, we're just gonna come in and like the hard drive's gone, and we're gonna have to deal with it.
That sounds like it's fairly key then.
Yeah.
So would that actually be on this list, or would that be something we need to be thinking about for this FY? Is it that imminent?
No, no.
That's good to know.
Would you make it first year though?
Yeah, I guess.
We don't look excited about the phones.
I don't mean to push you, I just know that you guys, there's a lot of complaints about it.
When is December 2nd?
We don't have another meeting before that.
it's a Monday.
It's a Monday. So, okay, here's, I'm on vacation next week. I mean, we need estimates. That's the thing. We need estimates.
We have to look over past bills, then.
You need ballparks, you don't need estimates.
Okay.
I don't have any idea what the ballpark for any of those things is.
What,
So
what do you, what you listed in?
A copier, a smart copier, replace the carpet in the children's room, replace the bollard lights out front, repair anything in the HVAC that needs to be repaired, replace the gutters, put in a new phone system, get smart TVs for the small meeting rooms, and a snow thrower.
Okay. So copier, smart copier, 3,500. Ballpark, I can't remember what else you have, when you buy it, right? Yeah, copier scanner, multi-function. I've got a bunch of stuff, so maybe I'm totally off base.
No,
But why not,
I think
you know?
that's actually a really conservative price.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was after copier? Before HVAC from smart TVs and snow blower?
Carpeting in the children's room,
What, 1,500, 2,000?
How big is the room?
half.
What's carpeting, about $2 a square foot or something, or $3?
We're gonna go installed, so it's gonna be probably more than,
So what is it? It's only $5 a square foot?
I was looking up snow blowers.
Can't be much more than $5. I've never put in carpeting, so I don't know.
I mean,
Snow blower.
I could go back and look for what
bulky you want. Because
it
it
was
was
Maybe
originally, it was
just get some
built.
rough numbers here.
Yeah, I'm probably dead.
Just measure the room out and by estimate, go $5 a square foot or something. I'll call the carpeting guy.
I feel like $8.
Yeah, I can.
There you go, Dave.
I went up
Yeah, I mean,
there.
yeah.
I bet you Best Buy probably, not Best Buy, I mean, Home Depot or someplace like that, probably just,
Look up Home
Gives
Depot
you-
and see what it says
yeah.
for like just a Gerber wool kind of. Obviously, it's gonna be more expensive to have something like this, but
Yeah.
for a rough estimate. For a snow blower, what, like, again, like 3,500?
Shouldn't be that
I
much.
think our last one was around 1,000.
I was gonna say,
$1,000
$1,000,
would be decent stuff,
1,500.
right?
if you want a good heavy duty one, maybe 15.
Yeah, smart TVs, 1,500 each.
Home Depot, some pros go from 800 to 1,300 for a decent one.
For how much, I'm sorry? Jim?
For a snow blower,
Oh, yeah.
depending on how many horsepowers and stuff, but, but for a two-stage electric, one's 800, another one's 1,300, and then if you want the Mercedes, it's 1,800.
Do we want one that's gigantic though? Because some of the giant ones are so impossible to push unless you like.
Well, there's
Yeah,
some,
no.
it's just self-propelled, it's more like where to store it and, is it overkill?
Yeah.
Right. It has to be able to clear the walkways as well as the, so
Yeah.
areas. We do get plowed, but it's still, it's not helpful.
And I think
For
we should include the AV
in that.
yeah, because I mean, that's something that everybody benefits from. When you're at town meeting going, oh, should we vote for this? Like, yeah, don't we want a nice projector at the library for our Cub Scouts to use? And
I just did a random search on commercial carpeting and it runs from $869 to $1009 a yard, depending on whether you want to cut or not. This is just some random company, so.
okay. And I can go back and look
That's
at
for commercial grade.
Wait a minute, to install, we would have to empty the room.
Right. Well, I think I'm not sure. I think you cut around Sheldon once it's in.
Yeah, you do.
That's more money for the carpeting.
Mhm.
So right now, there's
Plus.
probably carpeting under, down, but
Mhm.
we'll just keep.
Mhm. Anybody have any idea on gutters?
Went to install new gutters. No, I don't know.
I can look through the building files, because obviously,
I mean, if they're just looking for round numbers, so
$2 a foot or something, I don't know.
5,000,
Hmm?
$5,000. I'm
I
totally
can get a number
guessing.
from you.
Bill, you were good on the bid sum, so
Yeah.
I think it would give us a decent bid sum.
Your phone system, I don't know anything about. How big is it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extensions.
We have 5 extensions.
And you want a cordless on that?
And we want a cordless, and we want to add one in the children's room office.
5,000 tops. I don't know.
I can look online. I just don't want to make such a big list that I can't get to it in this week.
Right. I'd say whatever we can figure out.
Rather
here.
than nothing, well, how much do you think we're going to need?
I think you can direct me to look for estimates and fill in, complete this form. I think that's fine.
You have enough to start with without burying you before you go on vacation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that makes sense, as long as you're willing to take
I
on
mean,
that.
if anybody else wants to volunteer to, try and find some estimates, that would be great. But this, I think this is a manageable list.
Originally, we were looking at 25 for, the cap on the painting on the side, right? So we brought that in.
Yeah, we figured 25 was comfortable
Vicki was
Yeah.
Where's the capital annually?
How much we spend every year?
Do you know?
What was the question?
What's your average, what's the average capital spend for the year? Or what's the budget?
There is no budget.
There's no capital budget.
No.
Oh, because it comes out of.
Right.
Okay.
That's why we're doing this special.
So Pam, for the minutes, what's the list that you're going to research this week?
A copier, computers, carpeting,
Just for the children's room?
yep. A new phone system, bollard lights on the front walkway, the HVAC repair and/or upgrade, new gutters, painting, AV system in meeting room, including smart TVs in the small rooms. And Maggie suggested electrical, but I don't know how you estimate just future upgrades.
Just ballpark it.
So what were you thinking of specifically
I
now?
was about, honestly, what I'm thinking is technology's gonna change a lot in 5
Yeah,
years. And
yeah.
do we have the electrical capacity to keep up with that, whatever that change might be?
Yeah.
It might be that we don't need to have plugs everywhere.
I think we just group all that stuff together into
Building upgrades.
Building upgrades
building
and
upgrades.
maintenance.
And then the snow thrower. I think that's everything.
So we looked into plowing instead of,
The town plows the parking lot. We clear the sidewalks and, because they don't get here in time for us to open. So it had to be, or we stayed closed.
but buying a snow blower and having somebody come out and
As opposed to
Richard, that's-
hiring a contractor to come and do our walks.
Right.
I think having Richard do it, we have more control over when it gets done.
And we found really when we looked before, you couldn't get a contractor to come and just do your walkways and go away again, at our schedule especially, before we open, so.
It's probably less expensive to do it anyway
Yeah, I think so.
than to have a contract.
Are you comfortable with what we have there?
Yeah, just thinking outside, like the irrigation system, we kind of decided.
The water is too expensive to run it right now.
Yeah, I mean, we could put in a well. We could put in that we want 20,000 for a well.
I don't really see that passing for the purpose of keeping our lawn green. I'm not sure I would vote for that. For clean drinking water, I would, but for the purpose of keeping the lawn green, I'm not sure.
I wonder how the cemetery gets their water.
I don't know if they have a well or town water. I know they upgraded some of it a couple of years back, because they had to, pipes were in trouble.
No, put it on, it will make them happy to cross it off the list.
I talked about it a little bit with Deb, and she kind of said what Janet said, people aren't going to vote for that.
plus
You want some sensitivity there, right?
Also, definitely not.
Oh,
Water
yes.
vacuum.
Well,
Come in with stuff
This is
that's,
unreasonable.
you know,
Yeah, I mean,
sort of
it's-
off track.
We don't
Because it's
irrigate the
gonna pass.
common, to keep it green, so
I
our,
don't know, I agree.
irrigate the sod. Okay.
Do you need to vote on anything for that?
I don't think so.
So if you get stuck with some of those estimates, you can email me or something, I'll help you.
Okay, thank you.
Are you all set?
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's anything around here that I can help with.
I think some of them, you pretty much got the price.
Yeah.
Some growers are pretty confident,
Yeah,
price and such, so I'm not sure what you ended up having left over.
I just don't want to be like freaking out about
Yeah.
this when I'm trying to figure out everything else before I go on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they were-
so that's it, on to subcommittees.
And you never heard from the Teddy Family Association?
I did not, no, you asked me about that.
Maybe you will, maybe you won't.
Okay,
I'm assuming that you will.
okay, we can talk about that later. Outreach.
So we just met, and there's a lot going on in outreach. One of the things that we talked about was planning for the 10th anniversary of this building. It's February 14th, 2014, and what we decided was that that's a Friday. So Saturday the 15th, we hope to have an open house with some refreshments, a cake. We're also looking to maybe highlight the local history room and new technologies. So a lot of the new technology we talked about tonight, if there's a new website, if there's new AV in this room, which there wouldn't be if we're going to make it a part of that capital. But so highlight sort of the new library, try to get some characters from books, Curious George, Winnie the Pooh, whoever. We're going to do some research on that. Have music, someone to come in and play music, have crafts in the children's room. Also, we looked up that the 10th anniversary is aluminum, so we figured we would do a can drive, and we're going to see if the Boy Scouts would like to be the beneficiaries of that, take all of our cans. Also, we talked about some of the requests that we have coming up or that we're currently working on. We're going to try to resurrect our writing program, which is paid for from money donated in memory of Ron Perkins. We did a little bit of that last year. We were able to save a lot of money because it wasn't very widely attended, so we're hoping if we do it again at a different time of year, maybe it will be. Also, we're going to be planning a event in memory of Brad Pyle, a former employee who passed away. Pam is looking into an author visit, and in January, Brad's artwork will be displayed in the library. And I think that was it. And then we need to still brainstorm some additional events for the 375th anniversary outside of the Rowley Reads, which is giant in and of itself. And don't forget to attend the meeting tomorrow night.
Just a thought as you were reading it back, is that President's Day weekend or the start or end of February vacation? And is that a concern for anybody?
It would be
I
right
think
around
it
February vacation,
is.
whether it's the week before or not, I don't know.
It's February 16th, isn't
The
that?
17th is President's Day.
So that's the first weekend of
So that's,
the
yeah, so
vacation.
it's a 3-day weekend for a lot of people on the start of February vacation.
Yeah.
But it's the anniversary, so we're delicate flowers over here.
Yes.
Well, the heat turned itself off at 8 o'clock, so I can turn it back on.
I'll need a second.
So, yeah, I mean, that we could end up with lower attendance due to that, but, I mean, that's the anniversary, so.
Yeah, I'm guessing the people
So-
that go away for vacation run off to February vacations.
Yeah.
So maybe with that in mind, keep it more low-key than big.
Well, I think some of the things that we had in mind will have costs associated, but, tour the local history room, won't, crafts in the children's room, we can just keep that in mind when we plan our budget.
Is it too early to have it the week before? On the 8th?
That's Super Bowl weekend?
Is it-
You're just killing us.
I guess it's Saturday.
Yeah,
Super Bowl's on
Sunday's on
so
Sunday.
never mind.
What does everyone think? Should
Well, it sounds like one of the things was a lot of like kids' activities, and it's February vacation. They're not gonna have as many kids.
Well, you might.
Well, one thing we talked
And you
about
know,
is
more
you can-
normal activities might not be going on.
Or you could do the kids' things on Thursday.
Well, that's one thing, we had talked about maybe doing some Thursday and Saturday. Maybe we could do some of them, Wednesday the 12th. Wednesday is a big kids, that's their story time, and there's a lot of our kids come in that day. So we could maybe spread out anniversary week. And have it open house on Saturday, but some of the other events.
More kid-related stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Still kind of settle on some.
Yeah. Well, in scheduling, maybe we're doing the events for a week too, so. Those, and those I dismissed. And then we talked about the staff appreciation. Not the,
You guys, I'm sure.
I already heard it.
Okay. So the next subcommittee report is policy. We also met just before this meeting. We are going to, after the holidays, look at the entire policy. It has not been looked at in 7 years, maybe, something like that. And I need to find out if you have, my copy that I have on my computer is still marked up. So do you have, you must have a clean copy somewhere. Can you send that to me, bits and pieces, not right away, but just somewhere along the line. So on the back of your agenda, is the, a while back, Pam and I were in discussion with town council about behavior policy. And this is what was recommended to us, we just talked about it. And a couple of things that we would recommend, paragraph 4.11 as is. 4.11.1, which is aimed specifically at disruptive minors. We're wondering if it's necessary to have, if you look, there's brackets starting with minors of all ages and entering prohibited. We're wondering about ditching that whole thing because it's pretty much covered in paragraph above. And just going with minors are subject to section 4.11, except that if you need to contact a parent to get a peer, then we'll make that possible.
And I think the reason that it's in this format, and I have samples of the original policy,
Yeah.
if anyone wants to look at, which is broken into library behavior, disruptive children, unattended children, and loitering. So, right, if anyone wants to see the old one, I have that, but this is what the town council
Sort of specifically to disruptive behavior.
changed
This is
this
what
into.
you-
Yeah.
And the only other question is the last paragraph where it says minors who are in chronic violation. We're wondering whether we need the word chronic, or if we should ditch that word.
I would ditch it just because that could become a
Right.
point. It could
Right,
become a
well,
point of
right, well,
debate.
also,
If someone shows
define
up
what
and
is
says, well, not
chronic, right.
chronic, it's only been 3 times. or,
And I might, frankly, I might ditch that whole sentence, because I don't want my staff to be babysitting, you can't be here alone, you have to be with a parent. These are the rules, and everybody abides by the rules, and if you don't abide by the rules, you can't be here. Not, you can be here, but only with your parent, and da-da-da.
Do we need to differentiate minors at all?
I don't think so.
The only reason, well, we can just add that then to the bottom, 411, because we do need to say that we'll let you hang out and call your mother
Right.
to come get you,
Right.
you know, whatever.
Yeah, we're not going to throw you out on the street,
Right,
but,
right.
yeah.
Okay, so perhaps take just the minors are subject sentence and dump it onto the paragraph above and ditch everything else. Okay, all right, so I will do that. So we need to vote to, what's the word, to implement this policy. And then we need to come up with, I just made a copy of this, I forget the whole background of this, but we have this posted several places in the library, and this is basically about state law, saying don't steal from us, and that includes using somebody else's library card and falsifying and things like that. So what we need to do from this then is take something that's clean like this and describes the policy without all of the text necessarily, and have it posted, because the policy is only good if people know it, basically. So we'll come up with this bulleted list pretty much from this once we implement this. So the other thing is the incident report. We liked the one, we don't have to copy it exactly, but from the packet that Pam sent around to everybody, we liked the one from Duxbury because it kind of covers all incidents, whether it's an accident or a complaint or whatever, and it's one form. So
We need both, right? We don't have
we talked about the accident
When
report.
we were working on the customer service policy,
Yeah.
we asked the town, hey, okay, where's the accident report form? And we never got one from them. And I also asked her about an incident report and didn't get an answer.
Okay, so I'll revisit that. I know I have that string of emails somewhere. But it was kind of like, we don't have one, which was not good news. But,
Jane, I took a picture of this in the mall. This is actually like, see the potted plant behind it?
Yeah.
It's that big in the mall, and it says, earn respect, show respect, earn respect. And then it has like just bulleted lists of
okay.
offensive language or yelling is not allowed. Apparel that is offensive or conceals individuals' identities prohibited. It has like 5 bullet points.
Okay, can you email it to me?
Yes.
So, if everybody has looked at that piece of policy that we recommend and has no concerns about it,
I have a question. It says, those who are unwilling to leave or do not leave within a reasonable amount of time after being instructed to do so by staff may lose library privileges and may be subject to legal action. Does that legal action include having the police escort them out? Because my thought is if we say you need to leave and they say, no, we're not leaving, and then we say, no, now you need to leave for longer, they're probably still not going to leave. And do we need to have something in the policy that states at what point the police would
can I
take?
see that little book back?
Oh, there's another good image.
Because I think, and I know that Pam, you're planning some training around de-escalation and around implementation of the policy. And I wonder if it would be easier to give the staff a tool where they can say, look, if you don't do this, library policy is that I'm going to need to call the police. The police are going to take notice.
Yeah. I think that what he talks about in this book is having guidelines and thresholds. So your guidelines are, if you do this, this will happen, and the threshold is, if you do that, then that will happen, if that makes sense.
And so does that necessarily get written into the policy? Or is that just part of the training?
I don't think it would be written into policy myself, but
The only thing I'm worried about, we're a public building paid for by tax money, and I know that doesn't mean you get to act any way you want, but if someone, at the point, if it's
Isn't
an
that detail
argument.
that would be in the policy, in the larger policy? I think there's 2 things going on here. One is we're trying to just get consensus on near term, something to put up out in the somewhere, so that people start to get sensitized to what our basic code of conduct is. And those would be the general guidelines, some simplified wording of what you see on here, and maybe cherry picking some of the bullets off of some of these other examples we have that basically follow the spirit of what's on here. And then the threshold discussion, which I think you're bringing up, is a good one, but I think that something we need to take on as a committee, look at the full policy that we have already? Is there a section like that in there, and discuss, where that would be at? Because we probably do that.
And I know that Judith did say, yes, you have the right to use this building for the purpose it is intended, and if you're not
Right.
using it for that purpose, we can, even though it's taxpayer-owned, we can go to you.
Right, and I totally agree with that, but you know that the person being confrontational is going to, or not is going to, but could say, you can't throw me out, this is a public building, I pay my taxes. And so I just want to arm the staff with whatever they need to say, if you do, if this, then that.
Right.
But
And
that
I
doesn't
think-
have to be written in here.
That's my
I think your original question is that this is a little vague.
What is legal action?
Those who are unwilling to leave may lose library privileges and may be subject to legal action. The fact of the matter is, if you don't leave quietly,
Notice the
we will call 911.
And
Yeah,
that's my
and that,
point.
I mean, I think, I would want to check with Chief Barker on that.
This
Like,
leaves-
but that's- this is
Yeah.
this gives you the option to do that.
Yeah.
So us calling 911 is not,
No, yeah,
that's the implementation of it, I guess.
and that's what I'm, and that's my question, and I don't know if we make the decision or if Judith has to, but, when we say those who are willing to leave, if you don't leave, then here's what the consequence is. We talk about the consequence, that you may be subject to legal action.
And that means calling the police.
And that's my question, is that?
To me, that's what it means. I'm not a lawyer, but to me, that's what it means. And that's the first step, right?
And we talked about that with Judith at the
I
time,
think-
so.
It's going to be difficult to do, I think, what you're saying. I mean, we need to think about that, the threshold thing. It's going to be not an easy thing to define, because you really get into the weeds about, we just need a lawyer for that.
Well,
We may go
it's,
down to that level.
I think
And we need- I don't know
specifically
how to
here-
deal with it, we need some kind of factual
but I
explanation.
think here specifically what we're talking about is if you're asked to leave and you don't, that's pretty black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
If you're,
agree.
you know,
And then,
I'm okay with this.
Case by
Yeah.
case, you just decide at that
Yeah.
time how far it's going to go.
right, how far it's going to go before you're asked to leave is kind of more of a back question.
And then once you're asked to leave,
Please do.
I mean, an unruly customer, even in a private business situation, it's a difficult thing. They all
yeah,
don't want to leave, they all don't want to,
right.
so you just call the police if you have to, you tell them you leave, if they don't.
And I do think that the training becomes key.
And I did ask Deb Egan about getting training through our insurance company, specifically like de-escalating situations, even just role-playing, the conflict averse, the how do you correct a rule infraction? How do you approach someone, with a behavior that needs to be changed? So I am looking into that.
Yeah,
And I mean, this book is really, really good.
It's a good
And
learning
and
language.
the webinar that I sent to is the same guy.
Well, I don't know if it'd be appropriate, but I'm training in crisis prevention intervention, which is, most of it is de-escalating, but then it gets into,
Do you feel like you could lead a staff training?
well, the thing is, I'm not a trainer. I mean, I could talk to the person who is and let them know what I'm thinking, and I could, do that, because, then it gets into holds and things like that, and I don't think that's.
Yeah, I don't think, we don't need anything like
Yeah.
that. We just need more,
Yeah.
Restraints.
Restraints, yeah, holds, restraints.
But no, I think just the de-escalation piece.
Yeah, and that's mostly what it is.
Mhm.
So,
That'd be great, John.
could be a start.
So, are we comfortable with what this says? For the
So,
purpose of it? We're dropping 411.1 completely, with the exception of that one sentence that we'll add to 4.11. That makes sense? We can attach this to the minutes, or I can print it up. Actually, I can type it up and send it as a proposed policy. Or,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
it's a
attach.
It's just not
Attached
attached.
to all the stuff, right?
Yeah, it should be attached to the minutes.
Did you need emotions?
Yeah, I was just waiting for Michelle to catch up. We just need a motion on that to accept that proposed behavior policy.
I make a motion to accept the revised?
Yeah.
Patron responsibility policy, disruptive library patrons policy.
We might want to decide on the name of it. Is it a code of conduct?
Section
Is it-
4.11
Did we talk about that at all?
of
We
the,
didn't, because I wasn't changing from the name, whatever's in the current policy. It's,
what is the larger policy? What is this 4.11?
hang on. It is just the overall library policy, It's section 4.
Then I make a motion to accept the revision to section 4.11 and 4.11.1 of the library policy.
Give a second.
Second.
Mark? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Asking myself if there's a list.
So then, Janet, you're gonna make this,
Yeah,
so then just get down sort of the code of conduct.
Yeah. Did you already send me that picture from me?
I don't think I have your email saved in here.
Okay, I'll just put that you will then.
It's JVP with the MA, right?
Yep. All right. And as mentioned prior, or after the holidays, we will revisit the policy as a whole, because I'm sure it has other places that need updating. Does building and grounds have anything?
Our big project was, of course, the painting on the other side, and that we set aside, so. We got what down? but-
You did have a good job on that. Disaster recovery, Erin is not here. Planning, there's nothing going on. Report from the Friends meeting. The entire discussion at the Friends meeting was how to get more friends and get them more active. We are gathering up some photos. One of the things we're going to do is create like a photo montage with a voiceover and show it on the Raleigh cable station. Janet Marcy from the cable station is going to help us with that. Michelle and several other people are working on not just a little thing for on top of the circ desk, but a poster that kind of says, you know, your friends need you, and that sort of thing. Nancy created just a blank form, basically, so that if you're interested, you can just leave your name and contact info at the desk so that somebody can contact you about how you can help. And Nancy currently she has gone through, I think, the entire Friends registry, which is much bigger than the actual active Friends, and pulled out the names of everybody who said they would be willing to help in any way. And now we're all looking at it to see who we know and who might be able to call and that sort of thing. So Friends would love your suggestions for people to reach out to, or other ways to reach out. And that was pretty much the entire meeting. We just spent it trying to brainstorm ways to get more people active. So we were trying to remember how we reined in Nancy and John at the beginning.
I think it was a
Was it? Okay. So I'm going to blast through the action items as I recorded them in any case, and then we will have to go into executive session, and I will call for a motion for that after I do this.
Is that a separate set of minutes?
I don't know the answer to that.
And is it recorded or?
It is not recorded, no. So, okay, so Michelle is the person to contact with any donations of food or otherwise for the staff appreciation luncheon. She will also write a thank you to David for hosting our website and also helping Pam to migrate it. Pam will check with Minuteman, and Josh will get a brochure from Staples about printing our long-range plan. Maggie and John both will follow up about the AV for this room. Pam will estimate our capital needs and submit that. I will follow up on the email stream with Town Hall about accident/incident forms. And I will also create a bulletin list, some means of cleanly and precisely displaying the behavior policy. I think that is it. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Did I miss anything?
No, for sure.
I'm going to do my best to get estimates for the capital needs form. If I run out of time, I'm going to throw it to someone to get to Deb by December 2nd.
If there's things specific, other than the snow throwers, which I've been looking at personally lately, there's nothing on there I know much about, but I'll try. Okay. So, I would like to request a motion, call for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of conducting contract negotiations with non-using personnel and to not return to open session. And we need a roll call vote for this. Does somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call vote.
I, John McCallum.
Michelle Ford.
Aye, Janet Peabody.
Hi, Mark Barringer.
I'm Maggie Loveland.
Hi, Joshua.